So what's the next move? Putting AI devices in our brains to catch up?
So Ray Kurzweil thinks hybrids of AI devices in our brains are the future. I'm not so convinced. I think once these things are smarter than us, they just won't need us.
So we just won't have a chance.
Well, but we're building them, remember, so we do have a chance, but we're going to need to be very careful about what we build. And I think we could easily build things that wipe us out.
And so just leaving it to private industry to maximize profits doesn't seem like a good strategy.
Isn't the genie out of the bottle?
The genie is definitely out of the bottle. But for the existential threat, we'll get collaboration between governments on how you prevent this existential threat.
Bloomberg Surveillance covers the latest in global markets and the political events that influence your world. Join Jonathan Farrell, Lisa Abramowitz, and Anne-Marie Hordern. Only on Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
Asia is at the forefront of some of the world's biggest stories. I'm Sarah Ryan in Tokyo. And I'm Heidi Stradwatts here in Sydney where the trading day begins. We're here in the center of all the action to get you set up with the numbers, news and knowledge you need for the day ahead.
The demand is indeed recovering.
We've been waiting for this moment.
The opportunity of a century.
Join us on Bloomberg The Asia Trade. Weekdays only on Bloomberg TV. Context changes everything.
Morning, this is Bloomberg Daybreak Europe. I'm Tom McKenzie in London. These are the stories that set your agenda.
Taking you from the U.S. market's close to the overnight session in Asia. We'll walk you through what you need to know to kickstart the European trading day. Live from our European headquarters, we bring you the day's top market-moving stories, unmatched expert analysis, and on-the-ground reporting from across the continent. Tune in to Daybreak Europe, only on Bloomberg Television. Context changes everything.
There is this real momentum from Wall Street. We are basically deep in the European earnings season. Take a look at how we're faring when it comes to Asian markets. What is OpenBCI?
OpenBCI started as an open source brain-computer interfacing company. Over time, we've evolved from building just the low-cost open source modules into working on much more complex integrated systems like Galia. All right, let's fly. All right, so what we're looking at now is 4 separate channels that are isolating 4 locations on my face. Basically, my left eyebrow, my right eyebrow, my left cheek, and my right cheek. And what we've done is we've mapped those 4 muscles into the 4 controls of the drone. Check it out. No hands. You flew a drone without a controller. That's really just the tip of the iceberg. We look at things like the heart, the brain, the muscles, the sweat on your skin, and we try to make inferences or decode your intention inside of a computer, your emotions, things like stress, arousal, fatigue, workload. If you can take a person's emotions and bake them into any application inside of a computer in real time, you'll have things like movies or games or stories where the ending isn't written already, but rather the game is changing based on the way that you're perceiving and interacting with characters in the story, the narrative, the game.
What about telepathy? Will I literally be able to read your mind? Will I be able to know what my partner is thinking from across the table?
To know what another person is thinking, I think it's up to the person who's thinking. right? Like we shouldn't have a window into everybody else's mind without them giving us permission.
If I gave you permission, would
Right.
you be able to read my mind?
Eventually or soon, at a crude state, right? Like high-level emotions. Are you happy? Are you sad? You know, are you stressed? Are you calm? You can already look at those metrics at a somewhat high level. The way computers are going to change is that we will integrate the individual's mind or the individual's emotions as a core component of what a computer is. When we do that, we'll actually be able to look at emotions on a very personal level.
There are real concerns about privacy here.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine if my mental and emotional states are stored online.
They already are. Yeah.
Well, what if the government has access to them, and advertisers and corporations?
Yep.
How do I protect myself?
Well, this is the kind of sad reality, is that we already have these kind of digital twins that exist on the internet inside of the servers of a lot of major technology companies. It's kind of sad how much control we've lost of our own emotions, and especially when you consider that at the same time we have no access to it. I like to say that today we actually have an immense amount of ethical debt that we have to pay off with technology. We've extracted people's emotions, we've started to classify people into different camps, and now we're tailoring and sculpting advertisements and information and news and videos and content based on these representations of people. It's probably the most difficult technological problem to solve these days. How do we backtrack from the ways that we built computers, and most specifically, how we harvest and collect psychological information about people? How do we backtrack, and how do we give that power back to the user?
Is backtracking even possible at this point? Or are we hurtling towards giving up more and more of our minds to technology? And how much choice do we really have? If your phone was constantly reading your thoughts, would you give it up? Brain-computer interfaces are enabling direct communication between the brain and machines. Do you think this crosses one final barrier? Like, are we giving up this last part of ourselves that makes us human?
I don't think so, actually. I think they're a kind of neat idea. I don't see that as a loss of humanity.
Would you put a chip in your brain if you knew it could enhance your neurological functions?